Hello everyone, and welcome once again to my channel. Today we'll be learning how to add and subtract algebraic fractions. Adding and subtracting of algebraic fractions. Now, just as in arithmetic, algebraic fractions must have a common denominator before they can be added or subtracted. We're all familiar with what fractions are, or if we are not, then please I'll refer you to one of my videos which I treated. I have a whole series on fractions. You can go over to my playlist and you can watch those videos. In those videos I taught us how to add and subtract fractions, and one of the things I did say there is that in order for us to be able to add and subtract fractions, you also have to ensure that they have what is called a common denominator. Yes, for there to be easy addition and subtraction of fractions, you have to find the common denominators of each of those fractions. Now, on the board, you can see some examples of algebraic fractions. They are similar to our normal fractions. The only difference is that they have letters attached to them. In normal fractions, there are no letters, but in algebraic fractions, we have letters. So let's go to the first one, which is the addition of algebraic fractions. And you can see in the very first example, we're asked to add this algebraic expression, which is 3x all over 7 plus 2x all over 7. Now, in order to add or subtract your algebraic fraction, you have to have common denominators. Now, in the first example, we see that we have already a common denominator, and that is 7. 3x over 7 and 2x over 7. So since we have a common denominator, we can just go ahead and put our over sign. We have common denominator, which means that we can just write 7 under the over sign, and then what we do, we add the numerators. 3x plus 2x. It's just similar to what we do when we are adding like fractions. We just take one of the denominators, put it under the over sign, and then we now add the numerator. So we now have 3x plus 2x, which will now give us 5x all over 7. And that will be our final answer. It's very, very simple, especially when you have a common denominator. Now let's go to the second example. In that second example, we see that there is no common denominator here because 1 over 4x is the denominator, then plus 2 over 3x is the denominator. So you see, they don't have a common denominator. So what do? Well, there are two things or two ways you can solve this. The first way you can solve this is by looking for the LCM of these two denominators. And of course, I have a video on how you can find the LCM of the denominators of fractions. It's very simple. All you have to do is just write your denominators in a tabular form like this. Now to start dividing them by common factors. Like for here, we say 2, divide 4x, give you 2x, bring the 3x down, since 2 cannot divide 3x. Then you now say, okay, 2 can still divide, you bring 2 in to divide 2x, we give you x. 2 cannot divide 3x, so you bring down the 3x. You write 3, write your x, 3 divide 3x, we give you x. And then x, we divide x. Then the LCM will now be 2 times 2 times 3 times x, which will be equal to 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 3 is 12, 12 times x is 12x. So now the LCM of 4x plus, or rather of 4x and 3x will be 12x. So now what do? You roll your line over the fraction and you put the LCM underneath the line. So the next step, what do you do after this? It's like we do when we're adding fractions. We say the LCM divided by the denominator, and what we get will now multiply the numerator with it. So we say 12x divided by 4x times 1. So 12x divided by 4x, x cancel x, 4 divide itself 1, 4 divide 12 is 3. So now say 3 times 1 will be 3. Bring now your plus sign. We now do the same thing here. We now say 12x divided by 3x. 12x divided by 3x. X divide x. And then 3 divide 12 will give you 4. 4 times 2 will give you what? 8. It is 12x divided by 3x, which is 4. 4 times 2 will give you what? 8. So now we now have 3 plus 8 all over 12x. You add the numerator, which is 3 plus 8, which is 11, all over the denominator, which is 12x. So this will now be our final answer. That is the first method of solving this particular addition of this algebraic fraction. Now, the other way you can do it is by converting each of the fractions to like fractions. You can convert these fractions to like fractions. How do you do that? You can say, in order for you to convert the fraction to like fractions, you're going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator with the common term, with the same term. And when you finish multiplying them, these two fractions will have a like fraction. So to do that, very quickly, I can say 4x, 1 over 4x times 3 all over 3 plus 2 all over 3x times 4 all over 4. You see, I'm multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the same number, the same case in this, the same case in this other fraction. So when I say this times this, will give me 3 all over 12x plus 8 all over 12x. You can now see that they now have what? Like terms. They are now common fraction because they have the same common denominator. So in this case, since they have the same denominator, all I have to do is what? Just pick one of them, 12x, and add the numerators, which will now give me 11 over 12x, which is the same thing we did here. So in either case, you always get the same answer. So anyone that you think is easy for you to remember and understand, you can do that. So now let's go to the second part, which is subtraction of algebraic fractions. And as you can see, we already have an example on the board, which is 5 over 2a minus 3 over 2a. In this very first one, we can see that they have a common denominator of 2a, not 29, it is 2a. So since they have a common denominator, what we do is we subtract only the numerator. So we roll our line over line, and we put the common denominator of 2a there. Then we now say 5 minus 3. And we'll do this because this and this are the same, they're the common denominators. So we don't need to look for the LCM, or we don't need to turn it into common denominators already. They're already common denominators. So now what we do is just pick one of them, put it underneath as a common denominator, and then we now subtract the numerators. So 5 minus 3 will give you what? 2 all over 2a. So at this point, you can see that for the numerator and the denominator, we have common factor. And that common factor is 2. 2 all over 2a. So like we do in our fractions, we usually reduce the answers to the lowest term. So in this case, we're going to have to reduce what we've gotten as our answer to the lowest term. How do we do that? We do that by dividing both the numerator and denominator by its common factor. So we have 2 all over 2a. We now say divided by 2, since 2 is the common factor. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2a divided by 2 is a. So the answer is 1 all over a. The answer is 1 all over a. When we reduce this to its lowest term, we want to get 1 over a. Okay, so now let's go to the second question, which is 7 all over 3a minus 6 all over 5c. Now in this case, you can see that they don't have common denominators, and so we cannot solve them the same way we solved the first question. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to have to use this very first technique here, which is to find the LCM. We find the LCM of the two denominators, and then we go about simplifying them. So now, let's look for the LCM of 3a and 5c. You say 3 divide 3a will give you what? A. 3 cannot divide 5c, so we write the 5c. So now say 5 divide 3a, it cannot. So 5 divide 5c will give you c. Now say a divide a is 1, write the c down. C divide c, it is c divide c will give you 1. So the LCM will now be equal to 3 times 5 times a times c, which is equal to 15ac. That is the LCM. The LCM is 15ac. The LCM of 3a and 5c is 15ac. So what we'll do, we'll draw a line here and we'll put 15ac underneath. So we do like we did in this case here. We're going to say 15ac divided by 3a. 15ac divided by 3a. 15ac divided by 3a. A we cancel a, and 3 we divide 15 to give us what? 5c. So 15a divided by 3, 15ac divided by 3a will give you what? 5c. So 5c will now what? Multiply 7. So we find the LCM first of all of 3a and 5c. We get it 15ac. We now say 15ac divided by the denominator, and the answer we got was 5c. We now multiply 5c by the numerator, which is 7. So let's do it for the other fraction. Don't forget to write your minus sign. We now say 15ac divided by 5c. That's this denominator here. 15ac divided by 5c. C cancel c. 5 divide 15, which is 3. And we now get 3a. So we now have 3a. 3a times 6. Okay. So now we multiply what we have up here, which is 5c times 7 is 35c minus 3a times 6 will give us what? 18a all over 15ac. So now when you look at the numerator, you find that there's no like terms there. 35c is not a like term with 18a. So there's no way you can subtract 18a from 35c. So this will be the numerator. The numerator also, it doesn't have any like term with the numerator, so it cannot be simplified. So this will now be our final answer. So once again, when you're asked to subtract algebraic fractions, you have to ensure that those fractions, they have common denominators. If they don't have a common denominator, then you're going to have to find their LCM. Once you get the LCM, you're going to multiply, or rather divide the LCM by each of the denominators of the fraction while multiplying the answer you get by their numerators before you now go about subtracting them. Then at the end of the day, if you have your answer, make sure you cross-check the answer to see if it needs to be reduced to its lowest term. If it can be reduced to the lowest term, go ahead and also do that. So with that, we'll come to the end of today's video. If this video was very beneficial to you, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, a like. Go also to the comment section and drop your questions or comments. Also hit the notification bell to receive notification when next I upload my new videos. Don't forget to also subscribe. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.